So when you're really emotional about something like football, like family, sometimes you need to take a deep breath, add context, add perspective, because all of us, myself certainly included, we can get too far down the hole, too into the tunnel, and not give things perspective. And I've been saying with Tom Brady, I think it's 50-50 if he stays. And this morning, I really feel like it's 80-20, 90-10 he's staying in New England. Not just because of the Instagram post he released yesterday that came out and said, listen, after a few days of reflection, I'm grateful and humbled by our team. I can't get ready to go back at it. He says, in life and football, failure's inevitable. You don't always win. I've got more to prove. So on his Instagram, Tom is acknowledging, I'm not retiring. I'm coming back. So put that to bed. I do think it's a perfect time for him, but he doesn't think it's a perfect time for him, so what I think doesn't matter. The question becomes, what does Tom do? And let me just throw this out. We do this a lot, and I'm guilty of it. I try not to be, but I think the public is really guilty of it. We always bury dynasties about a year early. Everybody wants to bury Alabama. Well, they just had the number 2 recruiting class in the country. They just landed the first or second best quarterback. And outside of Florida in the SEC next year, nobody comes close to stacking up with what they return. Alabama's going to be in the playoff next year. Right now, they and Clemson are favored. And only Florida in the SEC, I think, can match up. LSU loses a lot of people. Okay, we want to bury New England. I get it. We do this with dynasties. But let's look at New England. Let's take a deep breath now. The season's over. We love football. We get emotional. We bet it. They lose. They win. They were 12-4. They're the best coach in the league. They have the best offensive line coach in the league. Matters for quarterbacks. Their division is still below average compared to other divisions. They get their fullback, James Devlin, their kicker, Gronkowski, and their center, David Andrews, back. Those will all help scoring. N'Keal Harry's in their second year as a wide receiver. Takes a long time. Mohamed Sanu comes back probably for another year. And let's be honest, best wide receiver draft ever. What they really missed this year, they didn't miss defense. It was number 1 in the NFL. The special teams weren't a problem. That was great. What they didn't have is weapons. And it's the best wide receiver draft class ever. A.J. Green's a free agent. Amari Cooper's a free agent. Robbie Anderson of the Jets, a deep threat, is a free agent. You don't have to even bring up OBJ or AB. There's all sorts of free agent wide receivers out there, all sorts of them. And, you know, we do this. We tend to bury things before they're dead. I'll give you an example. Friends, Frasier, and Seinfeld are still the most watched thing on all these Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime subscription services. They're all fighting over Frasier. They're all fighting over Seinfeld, Hulu. They're all, NBC, give us Frasier back. Give us Friends back. Give us Seinfeld. They're still all fighting over this stuff. I know it's not cool to say you watch Seinfeld. I know it's not cool to say you watch Friends. That's what people are comfortable with. So we tend to bury dynasties, and New England is still the smartest team in the AFC. They appear to be. They still have the best at several things. They get 3 key components back offensively, and I think they're fine. And this morning, here's what I know. I don't have anything in common with Tom Brady except this. I like habit. I love habit. I'm a repetitive guy. I can go to mock drafts all day, the same one. And this is what I know about Brady. Brady loves habit. He loves process. He loves repetition. That's the only thing we have in common. And let me tell you, I've moved cross-country 3 times. It disrupts that. It disrupts it. LeVar Arrington came on this show and said, man, when you move, all those little things that you love, exactly where you park and exactly the freeway you take, and it takes you 9 minutes, and you go to Pete's and get your coffee, and then it's 4 minutes from there. Brady loves that. I love that. And moving, I've done it 3 times. It's a pain in the butt. LeVar Arrington talked about that for Brady. Will he be willing to give that up?
There's so many different things that will play a part after you've been in a place for 20 years. Think about how his locker is set up. Think about who handles the small, minute details of what he eats in the morning, what he eats in the noontime, what are his snacks. How does he like his socks? What type of spikes does he like? Where I sit in the meeting rooms. There are so many things just within the football aspect of it.
This morning, context, take a deep breath. Tom Brady went to Instagram. And I'm going on radio and TV. I think it's 80-20. He's a Patriot. I didn't a couple days ago. That's what football does to us. I think 80-20 he's back, and New England's very good next year. All right, let's go to this. Mike McCarthy, new coach of the Dallas Cowboys, former coach Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, and the Packers, is going to hold a press conference today after our show. It's when our show ends, it'll be right after that, about 15 minutes after that. And there was a story yesterday that one of the reasons that Jerry Jones hired Mike McCarthy is because Jerry Jones felt we played him 10 times. He went 7-3 against us, and we always thought we had better players. And that's not a bad reason to hire somebody. I mean, there's a reason that people are hiring New England GMs and New England assistants and New England coordinators. You know, Miami's like, well, if you can't beat them, join them, we'll hire Brian Flores. There's a reason Josh McDaniels and Nick Casario, you know, in New England probably take over the Cleveland Browns. It's not a terrible reason to hire somebody. You go up against them, and they beat you with less talent. Or at least the perception is you've got more talent, they've got less talent, and they keep beating you. So that I don't have a problem with that. But here's the funny thing. When Mike McCarthy, and I'm divorced, so when Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers got a divorce, people love to judge a divorce in the first month. I'm going to go to the gym and get my abs. I won the divorce. And that's not how divorces go. Are we sure Aaron Rodgers is going to win this divorce? Aaron Rodgers plays Seattle and Russell Wilson this weekend, the best road team in the league. And Mike McCarthy takes over an incredibly talented offensive roster in Dallas. He never had an offensive line like that. He never had a running back like Zeke. He never had an owner in Green Bay. He's got an aspirational driven owner, the best offensive line he's had, the best running back he's had, and a very capable quarterback, and a team that with Jason Garrett won the division. We do this in divorces. Go to the gym. I'm going to look great. Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant. Oh, Westbrook was the man for about 6 months. MVP, triple-double. 5 years later, we roll our eyes at Westbrook. Never won a playoff series. He's a stat monster, having his worst shooting year of his career. No, I mean, he's now shooting 36%. It's the worst of his year. You roll your eyes at Westbrook. Kobe and Shaq. Shaq won that divorce. First couple of years, got a title in Miami. 5-6 years later, Kobe's got multiple titles. Kobe's winning an Oscar. Kobe's very refined. His business has never been stronger. Kobe won. Favre and the Packers. Oh, Favre. You know, a little scrappy with the Jets, but he goes to Minnesota for a couple years, and every time they played Green Bay, they knocked the living you-know-what out of him. He gets to the NFC Championship, and then 6-7 years later, it was the right move. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers was really talented, and Aaron Rodgers this year won the division, and Favre's down somewhere talking about football, and Aaron's got another 5-6 years left, and he's fantastic. Be very careful about the divorce, and let's be honest about it. When McCarthy got fired, it was outdated, dinosaur. This guy he takes over. He's an offensive coach. He never had anything like that in Green Bay. He didn't have an owner. He kept complaining to Ted Thompson, get me some players. Well, players, free agents don't want to play in Green Bay. You know where free agents do want to play? In a state with no state tax for an owner that tends to overpay Jerry Jones. That's a nice thing to have. He now has an owner who will overpay, pay early, and by the way, in a state where professional athletes love Texas. They love Houston. They love Dallas. They like San Antonio. There's no state tax. Great place to go. Free agents, Dallas is always competitive. Basically, Dallas turns down players for free agency. So be very careful on this. I think the first little year, but we did look at stats yesterday. We talked about the stats of Aaron Rodgers since Mike McCarthy's left. Yards down per game, third down conversions down, second half adjustment points down. He didn't elevate. The record's better, because the Bears and the Lions imploded and because they gave them a defense. But it's not like the Packers and Aaron Rodgers elevated to a new galaxy. They still only have one Super Bowl in the last decade, and Mike was part of it. And it may be their last one. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.